Technology has been avidly advancing for long before I was even born. The leaps and strides that humankind are making each year are equivalent to decades of progress before. This, of course, has altered our everyday lives, for all the information that human beings have ever collected is now jammed inside our pockets. It allows each person to look at what they want when they want. We no longer need to rely on external sources such as movie theaters to watch a new movie. We can simply type it up and watch it. This ease of access and in turn consumption has seen the rise in popularity in all branches of media on the internet. Whether it be news articles, music or videos, people anywhere of any age are given access to the entirety of the information stronghold which is the internet. The good and the bad. So what happens when the unrestricted growth of the internet births something malicious? How do we protect not only ourselves but the vulnerable? Today I want to investigate the phenomenon of gore being seemingly romanticized in media, and maybe consider whether it's harmful or totally harmless.
Please subscribe.
If you're releasing a product in the media, no matter the format, you need a hook. A gimmick of sorts to reel people in and convince them to spend their time and money on your product. In an age where all media can be accessed instantly, why would we waste our time watching something boring when we could rewatch Coraline again? In the gaming medium, the gimmick may be a life-changing story, stellar graphics, maybe groundbreaking mechanics. But sometimes, the entire gimmick of a piece of media is the... Take Saw for example. Originally released in 2004, Saw swept the cinema world off its feet. But let's think about it. I can't remember the characters' names or even their motives, but that's because the whole appeal of Saw was that you'd see gore. In my opinion, Saw pushed the idea of heavily featuring gore in media into the mainstream, and it was the catalyst for the long road which eventually leads to our current time, where almost every video game or movie that's MA15+ basically has to feature gore, lest it be called boring. If you look up gore video games, entire Reddit threads pop up where people are going out of their way to ask about and share games where their identity is shoving as much gore in your face as possible. I think that the attraction, or at least fascination with gore, is an innate trait that all of us humans share. The human mind was never meant to comprehend what's on the inside. Our whole lives we've only been able to see ourselves from the outside, our internals being an alien and disturbing thought. So when that sort of stuff is shown to us, when the inside comes out, it directly challenges how we perceive ourselves, and for a moment all humanity is stripped from us and we're reduced to simply being a hunk of organs and tissue. That's why I believe gore in media has skyrocketed immensely, because people have discovered the morbid fascination that comes from seeing things we were never meant to see. Obviously technology, even in the past 10 or 20 years, has improved tenfold. Specifically graphical fidelity, whether it be the increasing power that these everyday devices and consoles hold, or the advancements in computer-generated imaging techniques in film. The things that we're now able to depict with these machines have become exponentially more detailed. Again, sorry for my constant reliance on using video games as examples, but take Cyberpunk. Not only is each character modeled so incredibly realistically to the point where you can clearly see each blemish on their skin, but the technology has now become available to create entire worlds inside the video games. These characters have their own lives that they live. They have conversations with other NPCs. It all comes together to make a world that is alive. So if this much detail is possible, why not create realistic anatomy? There's no reason that every single aspect should feel realistic apart from when you shoot someone, right? I'm not so sure. Objection! Shouldn't we, as normal people, be able to sacrifice a little bit of immersion for the sake of us, the audience, not having to have organs and limbs shoved in our faces? It feels as if the designers experimented with the implementation of realistic gore to see if they could, rather than thinking if they should. The same can be said for movies. The evolution of CGI has allowed directors to put whatever they want in their films. A lot of the time, no one physical even has to be in the shot. It can be completely generated using CGI. Even in films within this gory genre, the level of guts and shit that make an appearance has increased heaps. Take Saw again. If I remember correctly, in the first one he has to saw off his leg and someone crawls through barbed wire. Pretty gross stuff. In Saw 10, which I watched in the cinema with a bunch of my mates, a lady is forced to slowly cut off her own leg, put a hose into the sawed off bone, and collect a certain amount of bone marrow before the timer runs out. Otherwise, her head will be severed off. What? And she literally does it too, and still dies. In these types of movies, all plot, logic, and characters are sidelined completely in order to put the focus on and only on the gore. I felt so disgusted watching that movie, seriously. In 2015, a study from Stetson University wanted to see if there was a correlation between the level of violence in media and the level of physical violence in real life. Specifically, the university graphed the percentage of movies in a specific time period with heavy violence with the amount of homicides per capita. Interestingly, there wasn't actually any statistically significant correlation between the two variables. So at least I can rest easy knowing that the only harm I would have suffered from watching that horrific Saw movie was a temporary violent nausea, and nothing permanent like homicidal ideations. I understand if you think that I'm being soft. Gore in media doesn't really affect me anymore, but that's mostly thanks to my constant exposure to it all throughout my growing up. The technology available when I was little was much less capable and advanced as it is now, so the development of realistic gore in media sort of evolved alongside me, creating an almost symbiotic relationship where the intensity and realism of the gore increased periodically as I grew up. I strongly believe that if I was born today and got a glimpse of what my older sibling was playing in 4 to 5 years, I would genuinely be scarred. The most gruesome game that I saw my cousin play was Call of Duty, which had blood, splatters and that, but nothing major. Looking at what I would have seen today, at the end of the day, look, it's your choice. What adults choose to do in the comfort of their own bedrooms is up to them. Consume whatever media you please. But I think that we can all agree that impressionable children probably shouldn't have free access to... Again, based on my personal experience, seeing that shit as a little boy momentarily messed me up. Whether it's stricter media laws that prevent children of a certain age from accessing these types of content, or whether it's just up to the parents to step in and say, "Whoa, buddy, let's turn the PlayStation off." Given how advanced our technology has become, it's imperative that children are kept away from this digital concoction of blood and guts. Bye bye.